Okay, so when you picture a martial arts tournament, what comes to mind? Probably, knockouts, a flurry of points, right? But what traditional karate, it's different. The rule book isn't just about winning a match. It's actually designed to shape the person throwing the punch. It's about so much more than just the sport. And this quote, this one from the legend Sensei Hidetaka Nishiyama, it just nails it. He says Budo's purpose is to improve the quality of the human being. So right from the get-go, we're being told that this isn't about collecting trophies. The whole competition is a tool for self-improvement. All right, so before we dive into the nitty-gritty of points and fouls, we've got to get to the heart of it all, the philosophy that drives everything. And that philosophy boils down to one powerful concept, Budo. So what is Budo? Well, they call it the martial way. But here's the thing, it's not really about fighting. It's more of a lifelong path for personal growth. The crazy thing is, the ultimate goal isn't just to beat someone up. It's to develop your character to such a high level that you can achieve victory without even having to fight. And believe me, that one idea, it's the foundation for every single rule we're going to talk about. And I love this comparison because it makes it so clear. A typical sports coach, their job is to train you to win the game. But a Budo coach, they're using the training to help you win at life. The whole focus just shifts from a short-term win to building long-term, lasting character. Okay, so that's the big idea, the philosophy, but you're probably wondering, how does this character-building stuff actually translate to a competition, right? How on earth do you score points with philosophy? Let's get into it. Well, it all comes down to this one thing, executing what's called a todome waza, a definitive blow. Seriously, think about it. A single perfect technique, one that's so precise, so powerful, that it would just completely end the fight right there. And it's not about being aggressive, it's about demonstrating absolute mastery. This is basically the Budo philosophy in physical form. And this is a complete game changer for how a match works. You're not just trying to pile up points like you would in, say, basketball. No, you're chasing one single moment of perfection, a decisive technique that shows you have total control. And that one perfect point, that's called an ippon. If you get that ippon, boom, match is over. You win. But here's the catch. A perfect technique like that doesn't just happen by chance. It has to hit what's called a moment of kyo, a split second of vulnerability. And this can be physical, like maybe they're off balance, or it could be mental, like a tiny slip in their focus. A good karateka can see these moments. A great one, they know how to create. So to get that match-winning ippon, you literally have to thread a needle. The judges are looking for these 4 things to come together perfectly in one single moment. First, you need perfect timing, hitting that moment of kyo we just talked about. Second, perfect distance, or ma'ai, for the technique to be effective. Third, you need maximum power, that total body connection they call kime. And finally, number 4, you have to have total awareness and follow-through, zanshin, even after the technique lands. If even one of those is off, no ippon. It's incredibly strict.
Okay, so where do they actually test these super demanding principles? Let's take a look at the main types of competition.
So there are a few different ways these principles get tested, but the 2 big ones you're going to see are kumite, that's sparring with another person, and kata, which is a solo performance of forms. Let's see how that Budo philosophy plays out in each. All right, first up, kumite, sparring. And this is the part that blows most people's minds. The competitors are throwing these incredibly powerful, decisive techniques, but they stop them just inches, sometimes millimeters, from hitting the target. Think about that. The goal is to prove you could have landed a perfect, fight-ending blow without actually injuring your opponent. It's the ultimate display of power and absolute control combined. And then on the other side of the coin, you've got kata. This is a solo performance. You're out there alone, going through a set sequence of moves against imaginary opponents. And here, the judges are looking at your personal mastery of the art, your power, your precision, your flow, and how well you understand all those core principles we've been going over. You can learn a lot by looking at what's not allowed. Of course, you can't attack dangerous spots like the throat or groin. But what's really interesting is that you also can't do any blind or out-of-control attacks. You can't even grab someone unless you immediately follow it with a controlled technique. See what's happening? Every single one of these rules is designed to steer competitors away from just, brawling and towards those Budo ideals: respect, precision, and total control.
And that brings us right back to where we started, back to the ultimate goal behind this whole incredibly specific, philosophy-driven rulebook. So here we are, full circle. And that quote from Sensei Nishiyama, it should make perfect sense now, right? Everything we've talked about, that chase for the perfect ippon, the incredible control you need in kumite, the sheer discipline of kata, it's all engineered for one single purpose: to build champions for life.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that the rules don't just shape the game. They define its entire reason for being. For traditional karate, that purpose is to build something much deeper than just a great athlete. And that kind of leaves us with this really interesting question to think about. What would our own sports, our own lives even, look like if the rules weren't just about creating winners, but about building character?